Back here, there's a new push for nurses' pay to be brought in line with teachers and police officers. And the nurses claim they have overwhelming support from the public to even the numbers up. Lisa Owen reports.
Is nurturing the mind more valuable than nurturing the body?
And I think that nurses give so much for themselves to what they do.
Should the check be bigger on the front line of crime or health?
I know that every single day in the emergency care in Middlemore Hospital, they are suffering abuse from public who come in.
According to Nurses Union figures, the money just doesn't add up. At entry level, the base salary for a police officer is just over $40,000. A secondary school teacher just under 40, and the average for an entry-level nurse a little more than $30,000. By the time they reach the top end of their profession, pay for nurses is lagging well behind.
We have lots of nurses out there who are qualified but aren't nursing because the pay and the conditions aren't good enough compared to the other sorts of jobs they can get.
A recent UMR poll seems to show massive support for their cause. When asked to compare the pay of nurses and teachers, almost 90% of those surveyed said that a nurse's paycheck should equal or top that of a teacher's. When it came to the police, more than 80% of those people surveyed agreed that a nurse's pay should be the same or more than a cop's. A government task force is investigating pay equity in the public sector. Government's task force is due to report back by the end of the year. Lisa Owen, One News.
In a word association test, if I said nurse, you'd probably say caring. But given the current mood of New Zealand's 33,000 nurses, militant might be a much better adjective. They're angry over their lousy pay rates and conditions. And that anger spilled over on Friday when nurses up and down the country hit the streets in a wave of noisy protests. Appropriately, last Friday was also the 110th anniversary of women getting the vote. But in a country which values equality, how come, arguably, the biggest group of working women get such a raw deal? It's taken more than a century to get from this to this.
What do we want? Fair pay! We want it now!
Suffrage Day in Dunedin. Nurses walking off the job and marching for pay parity with their counterparts in the north of the North Island.
There's nothing new about nurses wanting more pay, but this is different. There's a new mood amongst these so-called angels of mercy. They're as mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore.
I'm a senior emergency nurse and I'm being paid $19.70 an hour, and I know that experienced people testing cars in the Wanaka ski field get paid $25 an hour.
It costs us more to do the degree than we actually start getting paid, so why would people enter profession if they can't actually get paid equivalent to what their degree's worth?
I want to be paid what I'm truly worth, and I believe it's 25% more than I'm getting now.
But these nurses' employer, the Otago District Health Board, is deep in the red, over $12 million. Can your board afford to pay nurses what they want?
Well, we can't afford to pay anybody what they want. We have made offers which we believe are very reasonable, and at the moment those offers are below what the Nurses Union would like us to pay, and this is an issue of affordability for us. We've gone as far as we can afford to go.
So if you can just push that up your arm, yeah.
When it comes to respect, nurses easily top every poll, but that's no longer good enough.
People say I'm respected, but I still don't feel valued. And the other thing is, I can't live off respect, I can't pay my bills, and it's not going to keep me alive. I can't eat it. So I need something to compensate for the job, the hours I work, and the stress of the job.
They want more money, and this is the first battle of what they're promising could turn out to be a long and bitter war.
And the only acceptable thing is to get those increases now, and we shouldn't be striking.
In their sights, the government.
Prime Minister. Speaker, that would never be a good reason.
The politicians who languish at the bottom of the occupational esteem ratings.
Order.
Well, the first step has been to achieve the same rate of pay, the same basic rate of pay for nurses right across the country, and we're well on the way to achieving that objective now. The next step is for the government to sit down with us and negotiate a proper pay equity, fair pay settlement for nurses. That's what we want out of the 2004 budget.
Fair pay now!
For nurses to strike is almost against the order of nature. For nearly all of them, it's a vocation, and the idea of leaving patients goes against the grain. But there's a reason why they're hitting the streets on Suffrage Day. They see this as part of the long struggle for equal pay for women. There are male nurses, but by and large, this is still a job done mainly by women.
The pay is not really that high, and the cost of shift work is just too hard.
The government spends $100 million a year recruiting new nurses, but they still can't fill large gaps in the ranks. Many leave the profession altogether or just leave the country.
I've been here 17 years and it feels like a second home to me. It's not just somewhere I've worked for 6 months, it's been my work home. Yeah, I put a lot of time, effort and a lot of my soul into the place.
Veronica Wheeler is leaving Wellington Hospital's cardiac unit for more money and better conditions in the USA. Her last day, a round of photos and last-minute goodbyes.
It's been a really hard thing to decide to do because this is my home and I'm leaving my friends and my family. I'm going because I want to be able to have choices in my life. I don't want to be doing roster and rotating for the rest of my life. And if I don't go overseas, that's what I will be doing.
Do you believe that nursing is in a crisis in New Zealand?
I think it is in a crisis. The shortage is such that often the duty managers say to us, no, we haven't got the staff that you need, you have to go without. So we often work with one nurse down because they can't replace people who are sick. It means, you know, we've got a higher patient load, you know, and the work goes on, you know.
How angry are nurses about their pay?
I think they're livid. They're so angry. I can't express to you how angry they really are. They're so fed up.
Nurses often compare their pay to that of police and teachers. They believe they're lagging as much as $20,000 behind. Police because they too deal with life and death situations. And teachers because you've got to have a degree to be a nurse. So let's look at the figures. First year police, just over 41,000. Secondary school teacher, 37,000. A nurse coming onto the job picks up an average $31,000 a year. Top of the scale police get $56,000, teachers $60,000 and nurses $43,000. Marginally more than first year police.
Patty Dunford, pre-assessment nurse, burns plastic surgery unit. We have 4 patients for you today for ECGs coming.
She gave up the shifts for a day job pre-assessing patients who admitted to a burns and plastic surgery unit.
But I immediately take a drop in pay. I don't get any penal rates at all now, so my wage goes down tremendously. And having a teenage daughter, which I do have, I have grandchildren, I've had to qualify my job. Not to her totally, but I've questioned staying nursing. And I feel passionate about nursing. I love it, but I have thought at times that it's just stupid to stay here.
I don't think we're going to come to an agreement. Patty will retire soon. Megan Rosengrave is only in the 2nd year of her nursing career. It's a family tradition.
I've got a mother and a grandmother who are both nurses.
But unlike her mother and grandmother, Megan is pushing around a student debt of over $30,000. How big is your student loan?
Oh, big, more than I earn in a year.
Is it easy to make ends meet?
Oh, you get by because you have to. I mean, if you don't know what it's like to be paid fairly, then you just get by on what you have, so that's what I've been doing.
How hard do you think it'll be for someone like you to strike for more money?
Hard because I mean, it's a hard thing just to leave your patients in the lurch, so, I mean, I'm prepared to do it though. I mean, we need 100% support for this, so for the cause I'm quite happy to do that.
So how do you feel when you open your pay packet?
Oh my gosh, all that work and that's all I've got. How am I going to make this stretch? Pretty much. When I open it and it's disappointment because you work so hard, you do such different shifts, long hours, and in the end of it, it doesn't seem like what you've put in is what you get back.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Appearing in the Nurses' Corner is Lila Hari, a former minister in the last Labour Alliance coalition government. Lila Hari has given away politics because she believes she can achieve more outside the House.
If the government chooses to ignore the demands that nurses are making, it really will be putting the public health service at risk.
The government wants the nurses to wait until its Pay Equity Task Force presents its report next March, but the nurses are in no mood to hang around.
I think the government would be making a real mistake not to sit down at the table with us sooner rather than later, and not to let a whole lot of trauma occur before they sit down, because that will make it much harder, obviously, to come to a reasonable conclusion to those negotiations.
That sounds like a threat.
It's the reality. Nurses are clearly the largest group of professional women within the public service who have had no significant pay improvements ever, and it's their turn and it's their time, and they are well organised and they will win.
It's fighting talk, and it must be making the government nervous. This is a government which reads the mood of the nation through opinion polls, and those polls show an overwhelming majority of the public believe nurses are underpaid. The nurses watched the teachers get more money, and they're in no mood to compromise.
I think they're very angry, and they're ready to stand firm, ready to take a stand.
What do we want? Fair pay! When do we want it?
Now! I have to get it because I'm going to retire soon, I hope, so I would like to have, just feel that it's more worthwhile, that I actually have worked a long time as a nurse, and that's appreciated.
2, 4, 6, 8, fair pay won't wait!
So your mother was underpaid, your grandmother was underpaid, and now you're underpaid.
And that's where it needs to stop.
It's going to stop there?
Yes.
You're the last of the generation.
Absolutely.
There's proof tonight that women working for the state sector earn a lot less than their male colleagues. A new report shows that on average they get 20% less, and the pay gap is even bigger for public health workers. But now there are plans to fix that.
She spent 3 years at university, 10 years as a nurse, but is paid just $37,000 a year.
Nurses have compared poorly with other professions where there has been a male-dominated profession. The police would be a good example where they've successfully campaigned for better pay.
A study of pay rates for public employees confirms that.
The contribution that women make in the paid workforce isn't as well financially recognised as the contribution that men make.
That's true across the state sector, and especially in health, where women receive on average just 64% of men's earnings. In the public service as a whole, women get only 80% of what their male colleagues receive. That compares poorly with the general labour force, where women get 87% of men's pay.
In terms of pay equity, I'm more a person who supports positive change within a community as opposed to legislative change.
And the Minister won't legislate for equal pay. Her solution is a new watchdog to make sure government employers play fair.
The unit within the Department of Labour will be looking at their action to ensure that as we go through the wage rounds and service agreements in the future, our commitment to pay and employment equity will be reflected in their actions.
That unit will be up and running by July, but without the force of law behind her, Ruth Dyson is not willing to commit to a deadline for when women in the public sector are paid the same as men.
Industrial action by nurses could be looming, with a big pay claim in the offing. The result of a vote by 20,000 nurses will be known tomorrow, with most expected to back a pay rise of more than 20%.
It might be Sunday, but for Anne-Marie Frew, all that means is another night shift at Hutt Hospital's emergency department. With 4 years training and 3 years nursing experience, she's paid just $36,000.
My main aim of doing this degree was to get myself ahead and be able to buy a house, and really that's going to be years away.
The mother of two says she could be forced to head overseas to find a better paid job.
It makes me feel angry that the job's not taken seriously.
Nurses are expected to overwhelmingly back a nationwide claim when results of the ballot are announced tomorrow.
If we wait much longer to deal with critical pay and staffing issues for nurses and midwives, we will have a